Imagine reaching into an old wooden drawer that hasn't been opened for decades. Between faded receipts, forgotten keys, and a handful of ordinary pocket change lies a single 1,992 United States quarter. To almost anyone, it's just another 25-cent coin, something barely worth a second glance. But what if that seemingly ordinary piece of metal was hiding a story capable of turning a forgotten keepsake into a collector's dream? Across America, stories have emerged of everyday coins unexpectedly attracting thousands of dollars at auction, leaving families stunned and collectors racing to examine their own chain. The astonishing part is that many of these discoveries began exactly the same way, with a coin that looked completely ordinary. Somewhere, perhaps in your own home, another one could still be waiting. The United States quarter dollar is one of the most recognizable coins ever produced by the U.S. Mint. For generations, it has traveled through countless hands, crossed every state, paid for everyday purchases, and quietly witnessed the changing history of America. Yet, among billions of quarters, certain years, mint marks, and extraordinary examples have become objects of fascination within the numismatic world. The 1992 quarter belongs to the famous Washington quarter series, a design first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. What was originally intended as a one-year commemorative issue became one of the longest-running coin series in American history. By 1992, the design had already spent 6 decades circulating through the nation's economy, becoming a familiar companion in cash registers, vending machines, parking meters, and family piggy banks. At first glance, nothing appears unusual. The obverse features the left-facing portrait of George Washington, accompanied by the inscriptions "Liberty, in God We Trust," and the date 1992. Depending on where it was struck, a small mint mark appears beside Washington's ponytail. The reverse displays a majestic eagle with outstretched wings perched upon a bundle of arrows, framed by live branches, a powerful symbol balancing military strength with the nation's desire for peace. Above the eagle are the words "United States of America" and "E pluribus unum," while quarter dollar completes the design below. Millions of Americans carried this exact design every single day without realizing how much craftsmanship and symbolism had been compressed into a coin measuring less than an inch across. Yet beneath that familiar appearance lies the first clue that keeps collectors searching. The year 1992 marked an important moment for the United States Mint. Coins were struck at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints for everyday circulation, while the San Francisco Mint produced specially made proof versions intended specifically for collectors. Although the vast majority entered circulation as ordinary pocket change, the differences in production quality would eventually become one of the factors separating common examples from highly desirable collector pieces. The composition also reflected decades of technological evolution. Since 1965, quarters had no longer been struck in 90% silver for circulation. Instead, the 1992 quarter consisted of a copper core sandwiched between layers of copper nickel, creating the familiar silver-colored appearance that Americans recognize instantly. It was durable, economical, and designed to withstand years of daily use. Ironically, that durability also hides many of the tiny characteristics collectors seek today. Imagine finding 2 identical-looking 1992 quarters. One has spent 30 years passing through cash registers, laundromats, vending machines, and parking meters. The other somehow remained untouched inside a collector's roll or forgotten mint set, preserving every microscopic detail exactly as it left the press. To most people, both coins appear almost identical. To an experienced grading expert, however, the difference can represent hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That realization transformed how many collectors viewed modern coins. For years, people assumed only centuries-old coins could become valuable. But modern numismatics has repeatedly demonstrated that exceptional preservation can be just as important as age. A coin doesn't necessarily need to be ancient to become rare. Sometimes, surviving in perfect condition is the rarest achievement of all. This is where grading enters the mystery. Professional grading services evaluate every tiny detail of a coin's preservation, assigning numerical grades on the Sheldon scale. Coins showing heavy circulation may receive grades such as fine or extremely fine, while pristine examples approach mid-state levels. The highest grades, especially Ms 67, Ms 68, and beyond, become increasingly difficult to achieve because even the smallest contact mark, hairline scratch, or weak strike can lower the final score. As collectors became more selective, competition shifted away from simply owning a 1992 quarter. The real challenge became finding the finest known examples. And then came another layer of intrigue. Although most 1992 quarters were struck exactly as intended, specialists constantly examine surviving examples for legitimate mint errors and recognized varieties. Double strikes, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, cracks, D-chips, and other authenticated production mistakes occasionally escaped the mint quality control. These genuine errors are far rarer than ordinary circulation coins and often generate significant interest whenever certified by reputable grading companies. However, the numismatic world also carries an important warning. Not every unusual-looking coin is valuable. Cleaning, polishing, environmental damage, harsh chemical exposure, and post-mint alterations can permanently reduce collector value. A coin that appears sheeny because someone aggressively polished it may actually be worth far less than a naturally toned example showing honest age. Learning to distinguish authentic mint characteristics from damage has become one of the most valuable skills any collector can develop. And this is precisely where countless exciting discoveries have begun. Imagine emptying an old glass jar filled with decades of forgotten change onto your kitchen table. Pennies roll away, nickels scatter across the wood, and suddenly a single 1992 quarter catches the light just a little differently. Perhaps it looks unusually sharp. Maybe the details of Washington's hair remain crisp, or the eagle's feathers appear remarkably bold. Most people would spend it without hesitation. A collector, however, would stop immediately because sometimes the smallest details tell the biggest stories. One of the first things experienced collectors examine is the mint marker. A tiny p identifies a coin struck in Philadelphia, while a AD represents Denver. Coins produced for collector proof sets at the San Francisco Mint carry the mint mark and were never intended for everyday circulation. These proof coins were struck using specially polished dies and carefully prepared planchets, producing mirror-like fields and frosted design elements that are dramatically different from ordinary circulation pieces. Finding a genuine proof coin outside its original collector packaging is uncommon, but it happens. Families inherit collections, estate sales mix valuable pieces with common coins, and sometimes collector sets are broken apart over the years. Every unexpected discovery adds another chapter to the fascinating journey of these coins. As collectors searched through millions of 1992 quarters, attention gradually shifted toward quality rather than quantity. The Philadelphia and Denver mints each produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year, meaning ordinary circulated examples remain extremely common, but perfection is extraordinarily rare. This is one of the greatest paradoxes in modern numismatics. A coin can have an enormous original mintage yet still become genuinely scarce in the highest certified grades. During production, tiny contact marks occur as newly struck coins collide inside large mint bins. Transportation leaves additional abrasions, and circulation quickly introduces scratches, dents, and wear. Very few coins survive decades without acquiring these imperfections. That is why professional grading became so important. Companies such as Bees and Ink examine coins under magnification, evaluating strike quality, luster, surface preservation, and eye appeal before assigning a certified grade. For the average collector, The difference between an M64 and an M67 coin may appear almost invisible, yet within the marketplace, those tiny distinctions can represent dramatic differences in value. Collectors also remain alert for legitimate mint errors. Although verified errors on 1992 Washington quarters are not common, authenticated examples featuring off-center strikes, clipped planchets, deep cracks, broad strikes, or other genuine production mistakes can attract significant collector interest. These errors occurred during the minting process, not afterward, and that distinction is critical. Damage caused after leaving the mint does not create rarity. Authentication by respected grading services is essential before assigning significant value to any suspected error coin. Another feature that experienced collectors inspect carefully is the coin's original surface. Natural mint luster resembles a soft cartwheel of light that moves across the coin when it is tilted. Once a coin has been harshly cleaned or polished, that original texture is permanently altered. Many beginners mistakenly believe that making an old coin shine will increase its value. In reality, the opposite is often true. A naturally toned coin with honest originality is usually far more desirable than one that has been aggressively cleaned. Now imagine inheriting your grandfather's old coin album. You slowly turn each page until you discover a complete row of Washington quarters. Most have obvious wear from decades in circulation, but one coin stands out. The date reads 1992, and unlike the others, it appears almost untouched. The fields still sparkle. Washington's portrait remains razor-sharp. The edges show virtually no signs of circulation. Could that ordinary-looking quarter be worth more than 25 cents? That single question has inspired thousands of collectors to submit coins for professional grading every year. Stories like these continue to fuel interest in modern American coinage. A collector purchases an unopened bankroll stored for decades. Another discovers forgotten mint sets inside a family safe. Someone else inherits a small cigar box containing carefully wrapped coins that had not seen daylight for 30 years. Every unopened package carries the possibility, however small, of revealing a remarkably preserved survivor. Of course, reality is important. Most 1992 quarters remain worth exactly their face value when found in ordinary circulated condition. Even attractive, uncirculated examples often trade for only modest premiums. The market rewards exceptional preservation, certified quality, and genuine rarity, not simply age. Yet, this is precisely what makes the search so captivating. Every collector knows that among thousands of ordinary coins, one extraordinary example may still exist. Auction records demonstrate this perfectly. While worn circulation pieces are plentiful, superb certified mint state examples have achieved surprisingly strong prices because of their exceptional preservation. According to verified auction records from major grading companies and auction houses, the finest known circulation strike 1992 quarters certified in elite mint state grades have sold for well over $1,000, with top registry quality examples reaching approximately $0 to $0 depending on certification, appeal, and market demand at the time of sale. These remarkable prices are not paid simply for a 1992 quarter, they are paid for one of the finest surviving examples known. That astonishing difference transforms the way many people view the coins in their pockets. A quarter that once purchased a newspaper, a cup of coffee, or a ride on public transportation may now represent an important piece of numismatic history, not because millions were never made, but because almost none survived in absolutely extraordinary condition. Perhaps the most fascinating part of this story is not the auction price itself. It is the invisible journey. Think about how many hands a single 1992 quarter may have passed through. It may have traveled across countless American cities, rested in cash registers, jingled inside children's piggy banks, crossed state lines in someone's pocket, or remained quietly hidden inside a forgotten collection while the world changed around it. It witnessed the early years of the internet, the arrival of smartphones, economic booms and recessions, and an entirely new generation of collectors. Today, that same coin may still be waiting inside an old drawer, tucked into a family inheritance, hidden in a dusty coin album, or resting unnoticed among everyday pocket change. History has an extraordinary way of disguising its greatest treasures as ordinary objects. The 1992 Washington quarter reminds us that true value is not always obvious at first glance. Sometimes it is hidden in flawless preservation. Sometimes it lies within a rare mint error. Sometimes it is revealed only after decades of careful survival. And sometimes the greatest reward is not financial at all, but the excitement of uncovering a forgotten story that has quietly waited for someone curious enough to notice. So before you spend your next quarter, take a closer look. Examine the date. Look for the mint mark. Study the surfaces under good light. You may not discover a record-breaking rarity, but you might begin a lifelong passion for numismatics, where every coin has a story and every story connects us to the people who came before us. If you enjoyed uncovering the mystery behind the 1992 use a quarter dollar, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more incredible coin discoveries, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever found an unusual coin in your pocket, inherited an old collection, or discovered something valuable where you least expected it? We'd love to hear your story, because somewhere, in a forgotten drawer, an old piggy bank, or a handful of ordinary change, history may still be quietly waiting for the next person willing to look a little closer.